We currently have a crazy deal going on over at poodlecfb.com. If you use code BACKTOSCHOOL, all lowercase with the number 2 in the middle, you get 50% off the annual plan. And if you use code BACKTOSCHOOL2025, again, all lowercase with the number 2, you get 40% off the monthly plan. That is the best deal we've ever ran over there. Make sure to take advantage. This is a locked-in grandfather deal, so if you lock yourself into this deal, you have it for the lifetime of your membership. So come check it out, sign up, don't miss out on the best deal we've ever ran. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Poodle back with another CFB 26 video, and you guys have been asking for it, so we're giving you the key stats and abilities at each position, defensive edition. Now, before we get into the video, guys, as you know, we are running a super special deal over on poodlecfb.com. You're not going to want to miss this one. The guide is live, and we're getting some great feedback over on the site from that. All of our tools are live, and we've recently added a bunch of new stuff to the spreadsheet that you're not going to want to miss out on. We're constantly adding tools, doing research, and keeping you at the forefront of Dynasty mode. If you use code BACKTOSCHOOL, all lowercase with the number 2, you get 50% off the annual plan, and if you prefer the monthly, code BACKTOSCHOOL2025 gets you 40% off the monthly plan. Don't miss out, guys. This is a grandfathered recurring deal, so if you sign up now, you are locked in for the remainder of your time on the site. Make sure to lock it in. It's our best deal we've run to date. It's the best place to be if you're trying to dominate Dynasty. If you're not, then you could forego it. But if you're in the business of dominating, go check it out, guys. But let's get into it. And guys, if you didn't already know, I am partnered with Chalkboard. If you use my code POODLECFB or click the link down below to auto-populate my code, you get $20 free. No strings attached, no deposit required, nothing. You just sign up with my code or the link, you get a free $20. If you ever want to test out a pick'em game before, this is the way to do it. Free, no risk attached. Go check it out and get ready for Monday Night Football. All right, guys, so let's get into this. As you guys know, I'm going to run this through the roster screen. It's a lot easier this way than going through each recruit on the recruit screen and finding them specifically, but you guys really like the first edition of this, so let's move on to the defensive side. So the way we're going to run this is a few ways. First and foremost, we're going to go through their stats that I look for when recruiting this position, but we're going to look at their abilities at the archetypes that I tend to look for when drafting these. So I'll start with the edges, and I'm not going to do right and left. We're just going to do one of the edges. So remember, we have pure power. Of course, Memphis has like 5 pure powers. That's very on brand. We have power rushers, speed rushers, pure power. These are the 3 that you're looking at mostly. Now, for me, I tend to go the power rusher or the speed rusher, and you're going to see why. Now, I do tend to make a lot of my decisions when there's a tiebreaker as well, based on our poodlecfb.com spreadsheet, where you can actually see the weight at which these guys grow based on the speed of the points needed for them. So keep that in mind too. If it's a really close between like a position, like you want a power rusher, but you also want a speed rusher, and you can't tell, just go for the one that grows quicker. And that's where I would go with that. Now let's go through these positions. When it comes to edges, if they're a pass rushing edge, and typically I only bring in pass rushing edges. If I need a stand-up linebacker, I'll just get like a run stuffing stand-up linebacker and put him at the end spot if I'm going to be standing him up. That's typically where I go. So for edges, I look for the first thing I look for right off the bat is going to be that speed. See, this isn't going to fly. A 72 speed edge guy is not going to fly, especially this, for a few reasons. First, even if they do get off the block, 72 speed can be outran by almost any quarterback that's going to be fielded in CFB 26. That's the first thing. Second, it's more time to throw. It's the same reason why guys like Micah Parsons, Abdul Carter are so dangerous. Because once they shed, they're at the quarterback in like sub 1 second. So this happens a lot in CFB. If the guy has someone who's like a Harold Perkins is a great example of this. With that 93 speed, the moment he gets off that tackle, you may think you have a chance to throw. He gets there so quickly. He closes the gap. He causes pressure on the quarterback. He causes fumbles. So that's because of the speed. Now, when you have a guy with 72 speed, they'll like shed off that tackle, and then they try to like build up their speed. You either A, can outrun them, or you get like an extra second in the pocket to throw, which a second in the NFL or in college football is a huge difference. So for me off rip, for me to bring in a rusher, they typically have to have 80 plus speed. Almost always. Occasionally I'll settle for like a 79 with the hope that they can grow if everything else is really good, but 80 speed's really been my threshold for them. And on the higher side, like the high percentile here, I'm going for like 82, 83 speed. Of course, finding guys in that 88, 87 range is very, very tough, if not impossible. Typically you have to build them up or bring in like a linebacker, kind of like a Micah Parsons build, and move them over. So that's where I start. Now when it comes to rushing, power move, finesse move, when recruiting, I typically try to find at least one of them in the 80s. Getting someone with double 70s is really just awful to me. I try to find at least one in the 80s, and it really depends on what their preferred one is. If they're a power rusher, I'm looking for a mid 80s power move. If they're a finesse guy, I'm looking for a mid 80s finesse. And if they're pure power, I'm looking for a mix of both to a degree. And then I look for block shed. Now, the thing with block shed is it doesn't have to be an 80 plus, but like having a guy with a 60 block shed is just a liability. If you can find a guy who comes with an 85 power move and a 76 block shed, I'm going that over the 87 finesse move and the 63. Now, I'll tell you why. Now, while you can play the game of bringing this guy in on first down and then subbing him out on second down on a rundown, let's be honest, 80+%, maybe 90% of players who are just casual or not really thinking, or like I always use the after work dad just loading up, they're not putting in that work. They're just calling their plays and trying to execute, and they're not doing all the extra work. And if you're having a guy in the edge who has a 62 block shed, 63 block shed, if they just run to that side, you're cooked. You're cooked. So for me, for many years of playing these games, I've always been like the after work dad build. I'm good at the game. I know what I'm doing, all this, but I never put the energy in for the subs. I never put in the energy for the personnel and the depth chart. I was never that guy. So I would get gashed in the run. But then I started to realize last year that if I put the extra effort in, I could sub in run stopping linebackers on first and second down, or if it's first and long, I can keep the pass rusher in. If it's first and short, I'll take him out. But that took time. And honestly, I still am very lazy to do that. So for me, what I'm focusing on with guys like this is that they have some kind of block shed. That way, if you at least leave them in on those downs, if they have a 75 to 85 block shed, at least they can hold their ground in the run game and not just be pushed. Because if they're running an outside zone to their side or a power to their side, they're getting pushed off the ball and being held. And that creates huge run lanes and one-on-ones. And in college football, with the way the stick works and the way jukes and spins and everything work, leaving them, getting them one-on-one is a huge play in college football if you can get past line of scrimmage. So really for me, I want the block shed to be at like a threshold of like 72, 75 plus at least to start, with one of their rushing moves being at least above an 80 and their speed being above an 80. Everything else for me is kind of, it is what it is. If you can find one that has a decent zone, that's not awful either, because then of course, if they have to stand up on a player, you run them in like a 3-4 where they get up in a purple. At least it's useful. But those are the key things for me. Now, once we actually click into the player, their abilities are very, very important. For me, the most important ability of the game is going to be 2, maybe 3 when it comes to defense. I love quick jump. Quick jump, while it's supposed to work like just getting a head start on that pass rush, sometimes it just lets you get a free release. If you have a guy with platinum quick jump, you'll notice they move so quick they just glitch to the line sometimes. Quick jump on at least gold is what I'm looking for. Now, when recruiting them, I want it like on I'll take bronze, but like when you can find a silver or a gold one off rip, it just helps them so much because it helps them progress. Because once they get that going, they just pass rush so much better. I love duress because in college football, the red throw is so prominent. When you get that red throw and the ball just sails to a safety or out of bounds or ruins a down or overthrows what was wide open, it kills an entire drive in CFB. I love duress because a lot of quarterbacks, if they don't have their pressure abilities, this is going to bother them, and it does require league mates to spend points on the pressure abilities. So it's good because if you just have it, it will require league mates to either spend it or get impacted by your pressure. And this is what I was talking about with the speed effect. When you have the speed and they get there quickly, that duress is going to light up and it's going to hurt them. Now, I also love pocket disruptor. Boost against pass blocks in 3rd and 4th and long. This is when it's like 3rd and 20 or 3rd and 15 and you need to get off the field, where they all just light up on your line and they go absolutely ballistic. This is why it's so hard in this game sometimes on like 3rd and 15 to convert, because pass rush comes in crazy when the crowd's rocking and pocket disruptor's rocking. Those 3 abilities are what I want. Now, takedown in theory is good, but I had Harold Perkins with platinum takedown and I couldn't tell you the amount of broken sacks I've seen on him. Recoup solid, but those are the 3 I'm going for on these players. Now we can click on another one. So another one that I like, if you're going to go pure power, that I really, really like, because these guys are going to be a little bit more of a run stopper ability archetype. I definitely want grip breaker. Grip breaker boosts to lateral sheds on run. So this is when like a guy runs inside zone and he cuts between the center and the tackle in like that guard spot, and there's a hole and the lineman just gets held, the defensive lineman. With grip breaker, they can actually like toss him off or shed in and stop the run. This helps them fill holes. So I love grip breaker. Now, I also love inside disruptor. The only thing is if they're on the outside and you're running like a halfback diver inside zone, depending on where the hole's cut, or if it's run inside zone to the right and this guy's on the left, inside disruptor is not going to work on every play the way that I'd like it to work, especially like if it's an outside zone or it's an option play. I prefer grip breaker of the 2, but if you can get inside disruptor, I lean getting it on like nose tackles or maybe like inside ends, but that's where I lean on those. I don't really care for hammer if they're going to be lined up at edge, but that's where I'm on edge. Let's get over to defensive tackles. Defensive tackles. First. I really don't like bringing in rushing tackles. I don't know if it's just me. I know there's a world where you can just put them in. I know the whole point is you bring those rushers in for like the passing downs, for the opportunity that they may also run the ball. But again, a lot of work. If I'm bringing a defensive tackle, I really just want gap specialist. I want gap specialist. I want guys that pure power. I want them to actually play on the inside. But let's go through. If you are bringing a power rusher in, their speed needs to be good. So this is what I'm not doing. I'm not bringing in a power rusher or one of these pure power guys with a 68 speed. If I'm bringing in a rushing DT, I need them with speed, because at least if they get off, and I've seen this a lot last year, I had this defensive tackle with 82 speed who was a pure power rusher, and he had pocket disruptor, and he went crazy at times. But I also had one with the same setup, except he had a 62 speed, and he would break through the line, and then he'd slow jog to the quarterback, and it's dead center middle, so you just run right or left, or if they come off, or they kind of like hook around the guard and come off on a weird angle, it's the easiest thing to outrun. If I'm bringing in a rushing DT, they gotta have 76, 75 plus speed for sure, and their power move needs to be in the 87 pluses, and they need to come with grip breaker and or pocket disruptor, which they should get. So those are my non-negotiables. If I'm going to get one of these, they need pocket disruptor and grip breaker, and they need inside disruptor, because now they're at DT, and at least the inside disruptor can make up for their lack of block shed. And again, their block shed needs to be decent. I'm not bringing in a guy with 70 block shed. If you're gonna bring in one of these power rusher guys, make sure they at least have their 75 block shed. They have their power move, and they have the grip breaker. They have pocket disruptor, and they have inside disruptor. That's what you want to build up to. Now, in terms of like other stuff like acceleration, just make sure it's not in the 60s. Make sure it's like a mid-high 70s. Make sure it's useful. You don't want that to be too bad. Play recognition is important. Don't bring anyone in with a 68 play rec. I think that's so important at the DT spot sometimes. Pursuit should be solid. Don't get anything in the high 60s, low 70s. Make sure it's decently high, because that's going to help them chase down the quarterback. And that's where I stand on that. Now, weight. I've never been a guy that overly looks at the weight and stuff, but honestly, since it's supposed to matter, I wouldn't be bringing in a guy that's 298 pounds, 6'4". I'd be looking for these 325, these 303, 300 plus. If I'm bringing in a DT, because the speed's going to be the speed, bring in someone bigger to kind of clog the lanes. Moving on to the linebackers. So for me, like I said, typically the way I run this is I try to get these guys as stand-up guys. So I'm not going to overthink it here. I tend to go towards the run stopping setup for these guys. And the reason for that typically, and let's try to find someone who has some other extra archetypes here. So I try to find guys who are more run stopping oriented. I played this game long enough now to realize that sometimes the balls will get thrown over the head and they can't catch it. Sometimes your zone could be great and someone could open throw them. What you can't control is in the run game, when your players just don't block shed well, where they get blocked very easily. I like to go with the run stopping meta, because I realize if they pass the ball and the guy's fast, I can just user him. But the best way to mix it really is to bring in a bunch of run stopping guys and just one or two lurker type styles. That way you can bring them in. So what I look for in my linebackers always is 86 speed plus. Anything slower than that is ridiculous. And that's even for my lurkers, I want like 90 plus. Obviously they're not going to start there, so that's fine when recruiting them. But I'm looking for 85 to 86 plus on all my linebackers. I'm trying not to bring in anyone slower than that, because that's just absolutely crazy to bring in 70 speed overall linebackers. Absolutely crazy. Now, if you feel like they have potential or they're an elite dev guy, that's fine, because you know you can build their speed up. So let's go into these guys. So the speed I'm looking for always like 84, 85, 86. That's the starting range where I'm going to be starting at. Their play rec, I want it in the 70s. Their linebackers, I do not want that in the 60s. Their hit power needs to be mid-high 70s as well. Even if like that, and that's part of my problem with the lurkers. I prefer guys with good block shed. I want linebackers that start in the 70 block shed range. I think that is super important to me. I need the block shed in the 70 range. I cannot deal with 50. These guys are here will get absolutely cooked in the run game. And this is why you'll have like 90 overall linebackers, 90 speed, lurker, good play rec. You'll have two of them, and on first and second down, you're getting gashed every play because they can't support the run. Last year, I made a switch to just pure run stopping linebackers, and I could just use them if I got to play the pass, and they were absolute dogs in the run game. So I recommend focusing when bringing in linebackers, making sure they have block shed and speed. Block shed and speed is where I start, and then the rest I can worry about. Now, remember, let's say you have two stand-up linebackers in your scheme. I'll make sure that I bring in one with really good zone and really good lurker, because he can play in his own. The one that I'm going to end up using, which you should be using like a linebacker to be safer, the one I'm going to use is going to be the one that has the great block shed, the great speed, the great run stuffing abilities. The one that I'm not going to touch as much will be the one that I focus more on, like the zone coverage and the play rec and the speed, because I need him to be able to play organically as a CPU. So that's how I kind of look at these linebacker spots. Now we look at the abilities depending. If they're going to be a passer, so let's say we're looking at a signal caller. If we're going to be in a signal caller, what I'm looking for here is likely going to be wrap up first, because a lot of broken tackles. I like wrap up. I like workhorse. I like blow up. I like hammer. Blow up didn't work that well to me, in my opinion, last year. But this is important for when you take those blocks in the hole, you kind of like blow it up a little bit and you can kind of kill the hole there. Those are the ones I'm really focused on. Hammer's solid too. for Sign Caller. This is a very well-rounded linebacker. When we go over to a lurker, though, which is supposed to be more of a pass coverage guy, my thought process here changes a bit, especially when I'm going to keep him in. I want knockout. Knockout's my first one for sure. Improve knockouts and coverage. That way, if anyone tries to throw any tight windows on the linebacker, yeah, they may not jump, but if they hit them, they can knock the ball out. And I want robber. Improve movement and zone coverage. I noticed when these guys have platinum robbers, safeties, cornerbacks, linebackers, they move just a lot better. They react a lot better. So I'm going for robber and knockout. And while that's probably my main things I'm focusing on, wrap up and house call would come next. I'm not a huge house call guy, but on a linebacker, where they're a bit slower, it could help to have this on like gold, platinum, and be able to take it back with them, especially on the quick pick. Because you do know with linebackers, when you catch those like halfback angle type picks, the running back, the quarterback, a wide receiver typically can cut you off. So this can definitely be super helpful. And now let's find that thumper build to show you how I would build them. Now we have the thumper that I was talking about. So for this one, it changes a bit. For this one, I'm going with grip breaker. That's one of my favorite ones for this build. Because, like I said, at linebacker spot, let's say the block gets to the second level, you can just break off of it. And I'm telling you, that's a huge difference. When the linebackers get blocked and the running back can run through that hole, they end up one-on-one with the safety. With open field, they could just swerve you, they could juke, they could spin. It just leads to huge plays and or touchdowns in CFB with the wider field. Grip breaker is my first one, followed by aftershocks, probably up there to produce wear and tear and start to hurt their quarterback, their wide receivers that are doing all the drags, their guy who has takeoff platinum, and their running back. I think aftershock and grip break would probably be my first two. And then I'd probably do a mix of probably wrap up. And I'd say maybe blow up. Again, blow ups wasn't useful last year, but I see the use case for it. But aftershock and grip breaker are my favorite two here, followed by wrap up. Make them just elite tacklers, elite run stoppers. And honestly, thumper is one of my ones that I'm like focusing very heavily on when I play, just because it's a bit more universal for me, in my opinion. Let's go to cornerbacks. We have bump and run, zone, boundary. So for speed, if they're going to be a man-style corner, however you want to build them, but if they're going to be a man-style corner, they need a 90-plus speed, 92-plus speed, really, to play on my team. Obviously, with room to grow. Man corners are going to be one-on-one a lot of the time, especially depending on how you set up your safeties, depending on where they get played in the field. For me, personally, 92 speed if they're man corners. If they're zone corners, I can deal with 89-plus. And that's like really close, but I know a lot of players, you might end up with like the 89 range. So 89 plus is fine for me. Anything below 89 is just ridiculous. Just find another guy to bring in. Now, I do try to build my corners pretty well rounded. So when starting, if you're bringing in a man corner, obviously just try to find their man in the high 70s, low 80s. If you're bringing a zone, high 70s, low 80s. If you're bringing in some kind of like mixture, I'd just be high 70s, both low 80s. Now, when you can, and this is why I love Talent Developer and maximizing progression this year, when you can, make sure you can make them well rounded. I can't tell you how many times I want to run something in a game, because like as a coach, if you get in a situation where you start to like really get good at calling your defensive plays, you'll know that man is working the first two downs, and on that third down, you know the user's going to come out in a man beat, or they just tried it. They just tried you with like a comeback route or a post. They tried hitting you with some man beater route, and you know that they're going to try doing that, and you want to come out in zone and trick them. While you still can do that, it makes you a lot more confident when your players can also play zone. So I always try to get their main thing, like their man coverage, if that's their main thing, up to 90, and then get their zone to at least the 80s or high 80s, so that we can start to balance it out. That way I can trust them in both. It makes you a much more versatile play caller, because also when I'm going against a team and I check their roster the week of or the week before, and I see that they have 3 man corners, I'm setting my whole game plan up for man beating stuff. If I see they only have zone corners, no man, I'm setting up a zone beating scheme. I know they're not going to run man on me. I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about drags, zigs, comebacks, curls. I'm not going to worry about any of that because I know they're going to be in zone. Having mixed corners makes it so hard for the team to game plan, because you can call anything on any given down. Cover 1, you could disguise it. It could be cover 2, but it could really be cover 2 man. There's so much disguising you could do in that situation. So that's what I recommend. As long as the speed's above 92 and the man and zone aren't awful, I'm fine with the rest. If they are man corner, their press needs to be above an 80. I'm not dealing with a man corner with low press, because they'll just get burned to hell and the man's pretty much useless. Now, when it comes to their abilities, if they're, again, I'm just saying man versus zone, because you can build your players any way you like on these. It's a bit easier. If they're man corner, they need blanket coverage. That's a must. And they need jammer. Those two I love, followed by ball hawk, followed by knockout. There's one of the few positions where I actually like basically all of the abilities. House call is the only one I'm not overly sold on, because a corner's pretty fast. I can usually make good moves with the corner. They typically have like wide receiver type open field moves. If you can afford it, go for it. But if I had to rank them, I mean, it's really tough. I think knockout's a key one for man coverage, because knockout works best when you're handsy with the wide receiver. So because you're in man coverage, if they try to throw like a, and this is really helpful, because one of the biggest man beaters in the last few years in both Madden and CFB, is like, let's say it's on a tight end or it's on a big body wide receiver. They'll throw like a quick corner or a quick slant, and they'll just use the guy in front of you and try to like contested box out catch. That's a huge thing. Or they'll throw like an outside deep streak. They'll lob it up and they'll try to like man up in front of you and kind of rocket catch it. Knockout on like gold plus allows you to be like, okay, do that. Once they touch the ball, your knockout lights up and they'll knock it out, which makes beating the man meta with that so much harder. You kind of have to focus on the clean routes with spacing, and it makes them scared to throw certain things. Knockout probably is my favorite. Jammer's important because they're man corners, and being able to press guys into the ground, especially in CFB when you're versing an undermatched opponent, is absolutely ridiculous. Blanket coverage, obviously. And ball hawk I like because it's kind of like the Deonte Banks of the world. I'm a Giants fan. He never turns his head. He never breaks on the pass, even when he's covering it. So this allows them when they're covering like a flag route or a corner route, and they're right there, but they don't really break on the ball, to actually break off the receiver and jump it. That's very important. And then house call kind of just puts it all together. So when a man corner, I love the bump and run setup if you're going to run man. Yeah, if it's a zone corner, this changes quite a bit if you're going to run them in zone. So if you're going to run them in zone, I love, like I said earlier, knockout still holds because knockout, they still can react quick to things. I love knockout and I love ball hawk. I don't necessarily care for bouncer much or house call again. It's, if you want it, you want it. Some people swear by it. It's not like the thing. I'm not spending it right away or looking for it in a recruit. Like, oh, they have house call, I want that guy. Layout's okay. I don't really care. If they can get their hands on it, they don't always need to die for it. Even in like Madden and back in the days with the Acrobat ones, it had its moment when it was glitchy. Now they kind of just catch what they can catch, or they'll drop it. Now, if we're on this one, I don't care for quick jump. I never really understood it. I guess you could put them in like the slot, and on a run play, they can get a quick jump. I mean, maybe. It's not like something I'm looking for. This is probably my least favorite setup of the ones. I'm probably going for blanket or jammer here on this one, but that's really about it for this one. Again, I'm probably not going boundary, guys. I'm probably sticking with zone or bump and run. Bump and run's my favorite assortment of abilities. Now the safeties. You have the box specialist, you have the coverage specialist, and you have the hybrids. For safeties, I'm going 90 plus speed now. Always 90 plus speed. I know they're safeties, but trust me, that 80 speed, if people have platinum takeoff or really fast receivers, they can just lead it once the safety turns their feet and beat them every time. They need 90 plus speed. Also in the run game, you need safeties that can cross the field, that can take angles and have the speed to actually beat you down on pursuit. That's the first thing. And they need 80 zone. My safety needs to get at least an 80 zone. That's what I'm looking for in a safety. And when recruiting them, maybe mid-high 70s. That's what I'm looking for in a safety, because nothing is more frustrating than a safety that can't play zone. They look like a dummy out there. Most people are going to be playing, let's say cover 3. Your safety will be in a zone. Let's say cover 2. Your safety will be in a zone. Let's say cover 2 man. Your safety will be in a zone. Let's say cover 1 man. One of your safeties will be in a zone. 99% of the time, your safety will be in a zone coverage. So it is important that you actually have that. And then you may say, oh, well, if I run like a cover 0 blitz, they'll be a man. Honestly, safeties can't man up. Even if they have good man, they just don't play it well. They get killed by, in cover 0, they're going to get killed. So let's go to the abilities here. For me, it's really just speed, zone, and play rec. And play rec's important too. So once we go, let's go to the box specialist. The problem with box specialists is, are you guys actually running them in the box? I see people recruiting block specialists and then playing them in cover 2 high man. Not a box specialist. It's more of a cover 1 setup, bring them in. Or you can put them at linebacker. But let's just say you have them in the box. For me, aftershock's a huge one. I want to get that increased wear and tear. Wrap-up's a huge one. And then blow-up isn't my favorite because they're not linebackers. If you're going to be playing them at the safety spot, but in the box, let's say they're a little bit backed up like in cover 1, they're still not going to be the first guys getting there to be blocked. They're probably making the tackle is what I'm leaning towards. So for me, I'm probably leaning more towards wrap-up, hammer, and aftershock on these. But then if we go over to the coverage specialist on Tracy levels here, this changes quite a bit. So now let's assume they're in a deeper zone, or even if they're in a cover 1 type zone where it's basically in the box, I'm looking for robber as my first and foremost. That's the ability. That's the one that moves you quicker, and especially with the safety, the way they already react, I'm going robber, knockout, and ball hawk. Those are my 3. House calls a bit more useful in a safety because they're going to catch the ball deeper in the field, which means you want the extra stamina, you want the extra speed and burst, and they're going to have to be contesting. If a safety catches it deep, or anywhere, they're the last line of defense. If a safety catches it, there's likely wide receivers, tight ends, an entire offensive line with a head start, a quarterback, and a running back to break. And you're bringing safeties with, like I said, 90 plus speed. You're not going on the higher end of that speed sometimes. So for me, house call matters. I think all these are great except for layout. I don't care much for layout. I find that when Acrobat was glitchy in Madden, they would dive and catch pull-up balls that were unpickable. In CFB, it seems like they only dive for balls that are catchable. It seems more aesthetic to me. I could be wrong. That's where I stand, guys. But that is my entire defensive breakdown on the key stats and things that I look for in a player. I've never been big on the whole weight, agility type, ability, strength. Not my thing. I focus on play rec, and stats that directly matter, like speed, play rec, throw, power, zone, man. Like those are my things there. I do care about height on a safety, on a cornerback. That does matter because it stops you from being overthrown. It gives you a better angle to jump, and it makes you a little bit more scarier when in the box, especially with like linebackers, like a 6'4", 6'5" linebacker or safety. When you try to throw over the middle, they can just put their hands up sometimes. But guys, better for the video. Don't forget, if you haven't already, check out poodlecfb.com. Utilize all of our new sheets, our new tools, our guide that just dropped. You don't want to miss it. Code back to school, all lowercase with the number 2. Get you 50% off the annual plan. Back to school 2025 gets you 40% off the monthly plan. The best deal we've ever ran. Come lock yourself in. If you want to dominate Dynasty, that is the place to be. If you don't want to dominate Dynasty, then, I mean, you're watching this video, you probably want to dominate Dynasty. So go check it out. Use the code. And don't forget, we have Monday Night Football. We have Thursday Night Football. We have Week 2 of the NFL. Check out Chalkboard. We partner with them to get you guys an exclusive code, PoodleCFB, or the link down below, which will auto-populate the code for you. Get you $20 free. Where else can you go on the internet that just gives you $20 free? No strings attached, no deposit. Just make an account, get 20 free bucks. If you ever want to try out pick them for free, no risk. This is the way to do it. Go check it out, guys. I'm out. Peace.